Yes, here we go. It is the Sunday Sesh. Hope everyone is good. The two party animals of the Bhoycie Bus, myself and the punked up warlord Liam Greenlaw, are bringing the Sunday Sesh to you. We'll do all that good stuff, then we'll get stuck in. We're going to be laughing at Mickey Beale's expense a wee bit. 3 points clear already in the table. We're going to be talking about incomings, outgoings, and all the rest in between as well. So yes, pour yourself a drink and get on the Sunday Sesh. Now, all that good stuff means give us a wee like as well, a share, or hit the unlike button. I think if you hit the download button, that might be good for the algorithm as well. YouTube like it either way, as long as you're interacting with the content. So yes, give us a wee thumbs up. I think there was 220 watching live this morning and only about 50 likes. So get on and hit that like button now. If you want to give us a share, slag the hair, all that good stuff, that's fine as well. If you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, like so many have, it is completely optional. It is £1.99. The likes of John Kerr, 1888 CFC, Alistair Jack, not seen you in ages, hope you're good, Patrick McLaughlin, Martin Weir, Phil McGinley, Jim Dolan. There's so many. It is completely optional. The content will always be free. Right, okay, enough of that. Shut up, Pie Sports as well, 12.5% off at the checkout. Right, okay, I'm done with all that, Liam. I hate doing all that good stuff. I like to talk about the football, and it is a weekend, one weekend in, where it was a revolution happening across the city, Liam, my man. We were watching a team spending millions, signing £1.2 million players that are really £12 million if you have a Rangers calculator. I know they like to talk about the Seville calculator, Dembele dollars. I think we live far more in the real world when it comes to money than them. But they've told us this summer it was going to be a massive overhaul. Spending like we've not seen, a real challenge. We'd already seen that they'd closed the gap to such a level that the confidence, as it always is after a successful pre-season cup campaign, takes them to a place where I think they don't get overconfident. I think they believe their own bullshit without football matches to sort of channel that crazy hype that they get. And I've got to be honest, they've been brought down to a crushing halt earlier than even I expected this time. It's a 3-point gap at the top already. Celtic are already sitting top of the league, so we'll be top from match day one. It'll be interesting if at any point we drop down from that place. Not a bad way to kick things off this weekend, my man.
It's like the bus coming early, isn't it, Russell? You're standing there waiting and, oh, Christ, there it's there already. Oh, brilliant. Honestly, I didn't think it'd be this fast till the hype. I was kind of loving to see how you can go into like ultra extreme hype. And just like, players are coming in for 1.2 million, but their price tag is immediately jumped to 12 million. And everybody loves a good hype campaign, but you think when you see it season after season, the media, everybody that buys into it, it's mind washing, it's brainwashing on a massive hysterical level. And they seem to fall for it every single year. And it's like, I don't know, I think that's what provides the pressure on the team. They put an unbelievable amount of pressure on themselves. And I think that seems to be the difference right now. They transfer it straight onto the pitch. Whereas I think the way we do it is more different, it's more emotional. Where theirs is more, they're invested, And anyway, so that's just interesting to see, like, okay, so we're 3 points ahead already, and the biggest thing that jumps in for me is like, okay, let's not get, this is what Rodgers is great, like, and not like a new manager coming in. It's like, okay, let's not get complacent. Let's not think, okay, we've got this league sewn up because Aberdeen can be a right good banana skin as well, right? So anyway, so I'm excited we're 3 points ahead, and I'm loving to see the dismantling of the hype, so to speak.
Aye, Liam, I think you're getting a wee bit of feedback coming through the mic. See if you just want to jump back in, because it wasn't doing that at the start, but then it started doing it. I don't know if it's a dodgy connection or something.
Cheers, pal.
No worries, mate. It usually works doing that for some reason. I mean, it's not just that, but the 3-point gap. We're talking about in terms of Rodgers being in charge. We're looking at someone who has a proven track record of winning these league titles pretty comfortably. The last thing you want to afford to give him is a head start, and that's effectively what Celtic now have, a head start. And that, going into this season, I think we've upgraded the manager. Don't think we've upgraded the playing squad. I need to be a bit clear on that. I don't think that's happened as of yet. I remain quietly confident it will. But yeah, I think when Liam's talking about they bring the pressure on himself, I think I'm more in that mind space than anything else. I think they've completely create a rod for their own back. I think that is something irritatingly aloof about Mickey Beale based on not a lot. I think he's never been a manager longer than one season in management. And I think he talks about standards and goals and what he did the time before he was here, when it's like you were fucking not even the assistant, you were on below that. And I think sometimes that sets you up for a fall. I think that's a term I've used to describe Beale quite often. He seems to set himself up for a fall. And the pressure that is now on them, if we thought it was bad yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, how bad is it going to be going forward? Now it's all eyes on, will they get that Champions League money? Then it's going to be, there he is, he's back. Say hello, Liam.
Hello, Liam.
Oh, brilliant, mate. That's much
Back
better.
to the old way.
Back to the old way, sounding
Old
good.
people, man. No country for old men.
I'm just saying as well, I mean, I think there's one thing, being under pressure and having a ropey start when you're trying to blend new players in and things like this, but he doesn't help himself, Beale. He never has. Whilst he's not quite grinded my gears as much as he did last year, we're only a game in. I think he did say so. I think he's annoying his own fans now. And that was the thing, he was pissing me off last season. But I seen one of the big sort of Rangers parody fan accounts, that's Sunday Sesh, and he was sort of, he's quite funny. I mean, he's DM'd me and stuff in the past saying, I hope you don't take it personal, it's just a bit of banter. So I don't mind that. And he's even quoting him now saying, we're playing fucking Kilmarnock, do you know what I mean? And this guy's saying, if you're not going to win, Mickey Beale said, I think he said after the game, if you're not going to win these games, at least don't get beat. Talk about Kilmarnock, for fuck's sake.
I mean, that's a brass neck when you hear stuff like that. So before I was going on my rant, I was saying, it's the mass hysteria. It's not just Beale that's bought into it, but I don't know, unless the media are trying to stitch him up, but it doesn't look like it, He said that every opportunity to just shut up and do your talking on the pitch, and it's rife. It's right through the dressing room, as we've seen with the 56 and all that, and the shorts and things like that. So you have to be careful what you sort of throwing out there in the media, because it's like everybody just wants to see you fail when you start calling your shots, and that's like gallousness, It's a Glasgow thing. Not everybody can do it, And when people try and come in, just because you're in Glasgow doesn't mean you think you can do it. You've seen other people do it,
I think as well, you look at Brendan's interviews so far, and he's a good listen, he's engaging, but he's actually got the right to be coming back to Scotland with a wee bit of swagger. I think the closest we've seen from it was I'll see you all in May, when he said that. And that was, but I think this guy's doing it based on his success. When you look at his first tenure, even at Celtic, this was a manager that had been at Liverpool in his last job. He nearly won the league with them. I mean, Mickey Beale's talking about winning in the COVID season as if he won that title with Rangers as the first team coach. I mean, that's all he was, or the assistant manager, whatever the fuck it was. I don't know. The T-boy. And he speaks about that as if that was his first year at the club. I think there's a big difference between these two. I think one's is an elite manager and the best possible candidate that Celtic could get. I think the other one believes he is, having done very little in the game.
I think they had to build him up that way to fit the narrative for sacking Giovanni van Bronckhorst, right? I mean, if you look back in retrospect and look at his time at Rangers than any of the other managers, he actually achieved some stuff. And I know he had a rough going against us and Ange mauled him. But I don't know if that was entirely his fault. And I don't know, unless you were going to bring in somebody better than him and not Michael Beale, then you have to completely twist the story so that all of a sudden that Michael Beale is this tactical genius. And so he must be feeling the pressure to live up to that as well. And so he's going into panic mode and his mouth is just writing checks, his arse canny cash, you know?
That's a good way of putting it as well, writing checks that you can't cash, and funnily enough, it's something they're pretty good at over there in general. I also feel with what we've seen at the weekend there was that with that expectancy, with that pressure, is going to come performances where they're just going to crumble unless you've got vast experience of guys who've been there, seen it, done it, which, let's be honest, despite the fact they've spent, I don't know, what's their squad value now? Apparently £125 million or some bullshit like that. I mean, if you take that with a pinch of salt that it deserves, you're actually looking at a group of players that just don't have the know-how. They haven't been there, seen it, done it all. I mean, they've been the ones that they're more experienced players have been there, seen it, done it, and they've been there, seen it, done it means finishing second. That's what they've been there, seen and done, time and time again. I just wonder if the pressure is going to get too much, and we could see a bit of a landslide here. We've got the right guy in situ, certainly at our end. But with that, we've got a wee bit of, not unrest in the squad at Celtic's end, Liam, but undeniably there could be a couple of surprise departures, I think, as well. Now, I say surprise a bit loosely, though, because when Ange first left, the biggest worry was that could mean all the key Japanese players leave. 2 of them have signed a new deal. 2 of the first team regulars have signed a new extended contract. 1 of them hasn't, and is now the latest to be linked and going. And that is Rio Hatate. Hatate was left on the bench yesterday. Do you think him and Starfelt, whilst it's not ideal either of them going, Jota was the one that really hurt. Hatate would hurt any team, I think, leaving, to be fair. And then Starfelt's the one that we seem to have got a replacement in for already, albeit I would like another centre-back. But we do have the time to do that. And I think if you'd said to me, Ange's leaving, 1 out of the 3 Japanese sort of key starters is all we'll lose, I'd have probably took that. Because I think my biggest fear was they might all go en masse, potentially actually 2 Spurs, when you look at it.
I think he couldn't do that. I thought about that as well too, and I was thinking the thing that probably prohibited him doing that was having that so he looks like a one-trick pony. You know, like he's got this in the Japanese market, and he right now knows the 4 best Japanese players with potential at that time and all that, and it just looks like he's doing it himself. So when I thought about it that way, that it wouldn't benefit Ange, and because we all know now, Ange loves to benefit himself first. And so it wouldn't suit Ange's storytelling, his narrative of what he's creating as a brand Ange, right? And I'm surprised at Hatate though. You know, I hope if he does go, we get proper value for him. I think we've been banking a lot on the assets we've got, thinking, all right, you know, JJ is going to go for 25 million, and you know we were getting ridiculously high, but it sort of was on par with what other players were going for in those positions and stuff as well. So I don't know, like we've talked about Hatate as being like world class, like, you know, next Modric type thing and all that. Okay, so he's got what, 3 years left in his deal. So all right, this would be a chance to see if that is actually true or not. If this is another thing that we're sort of investing all this stuff into and emotion into it that's not actually real. We're not living in the real world, you know. So I'd be sad if it goes, but I don't think it's. I'm glad there's no Japanese thing, because I think Maeda will turn out good, and I think Kyogo will flourish under Brendan.
Well, they're hard to argue with that, Liam. I wonder if, in terms of getting the value that we seek for Hatate as fans, to see that actually come into fruition. I think Celtic do hold more aces. Now, I know sometimes I think we do lift the skirt a wee bit too quickly when we get offers made, that we think we get a wee bit giddy too soon. But I wonder, with the 25 million already banked for Jota, on top of your Champions League, on top of what was cash reserves. I think, if my memory serves right, around 30 million before you even include Jota and Champions League money. I wonder if that increases the likelihood that we do maybe see a Tati leave for, I think, around that £20 million mark. I think would be something that would be, not that we would want, but if we were resigned to him going, we would accept, I think, as a fan base as well, that if he's, I know there'll be a lot of body language experts now looking at him with the hood up as he left Celtic Park yesterday. I think the glaring thing for me is when Celtic are playing their first game of the season, you pick your first pick 11. If you ain't in that, I think, and you're Rio Tati, I think that has to be other reasons at work, because it doesn't add up to me, him not being in that starting 11. And that's not me discrediting David Turnbull. He went on, scored 2 goals, got an assist. So anyone could say, well, that merited the start. Of course it did. I just think, if we're being honest, though, we didn't know that was going to happen. I mean, you look at the pool of players Celtic have available yesterday. Rio Tati, I think, is in 99.9% of fans' first 11. Do you know what I mean? So if he's not, that leans me towards thinking there's a reason behind that. If that is the case, I do feel we are financially stable. And when I say financially stable, I'd actually say maybe rude financial health we are in. And therefore, we can play a wee bit more hardball on this one, albeit we do still need to slightly adopt the attitude that Ange had of, we don't want to keep bad eggs in there if they win. I could be being unfair here on Tati. Mere speculation on my part, by the way. But I do feel like if a player wants to go, I understand Ange, his attitude was, if a player's not sure, I'll treat that as, you want to go, see you later, mate. But I think we can do it a wee bit cuter and a wee bit cleverer than just being toys out the pram sort of thing with these guys. I would rather it was far more measured. I think you look at the window, and I've been calm about incomings, Liam. I would also be then calm about the next outgoing and say, okay, we might be willing to talk on a Tati, but we've got 25 days. Someone will bite the 20 million price tag we've put on him. So if you don't want to bid it and you don't want to meet our demands, jog on. Plenty of time for someone else to come in and meet the valuation that Celtic apply.
He might have been tapped up as well. He might know it might be another Champions League team, and that could be the thing. So you don't know what his agent's telling him right now, right? So he didn't make that Japanese squad, did he? That for the World Cup. Okay, so if he felt he was, and by the way, he was balling it in that game against Real Madrid, he should have been on that squad. Based on what I seen on that level that day, I was like, okay, that's a player that could play. And then watching Japan and the thing, I'm thinking, okay, this guy's a proper footballer. So his agent has probably said, we've got interest with Manchester City. I mean, we can't have that much involvement with Manchester City without seeing one go the other way, especially one that's got potential. And would he fit into their system? I don't know. Depends what their system's going to be in the next year or two. It keeps evolving, and he might be part of that because he's got a great skill set. He's one of the best guys I've seen turn on the ball just to beat his man. It's like a Cruyff turn that he does in the middle of the park. It's brilliant.
Yep, I agree with that.
His next 2 or 3 steps, he's explosive, so he's got that as well. And then if you look at that one he hit in his debut against Hearts. That screamer that beat Gordon for about 40 yards out. And you can see, God, he's got that special something as well too. So I could see a team like Man City or something coming in for it. And if he knows they're in for him, and then it's just a matter of time before he's gone.
Yep, undeniably.
And I'm not knowing anyway, by the way, that's just pure fantasy, speculation,
Yes. Well, of course it is. The other departure that I was referring to a wee minute ago there was Starfelt. Now, again, Rodgers is just going to be upfront and honest. He thinks there's a good chance he could leave. I think he was more or less telling you he is a definite departure. Rumours circulating of 8-9 million. Then today it maybe has dropped in some of the group chats and some of the ITK people, talking more around what we paid for him, we're probably going to get back. How do you regard that as business if that is the case, Liam? Would you be quite happy to say we got him in when we had to? We had to get some experience in the team. We brought in a Swedish international in that first summer of Angie's. We got 2 years out of him. We won 5 major trophies domestically. We won 2 titles, and we then, at the end of it, get our money back. And he's 2 years older now. I just wonder if that's not the worst bit of business in the world to do when you strip it down and look at it that way. What do you think?
I don't know. Maybe Chin Fran Alonso, he got a hoodie on. That's why he's leaving. He has to leave. I don't like that. I mean, I think you sort of invest in players and you put a lot of emotion into them and all that, and so you put up with certain deficiencies and all that, knowing that they're there to get better and they're going to evolve, right? And I think Starfelt's one of the players as well, where people were ready to give him a chance because they saw, they saw value in what he did in other areas apart. I mean, we're really going to miss him in the air, and so like our aerial, especially when we're getting bombarded now with, I don't know, Scotland's put something in the water ever since Gordon Strachan said we were too wee because there's all these big punishing bruisers of young guys coming through.
Right. So true.
Here's what happens when you stop drinking Iron Brew, So, anyway, I don't know. I don't like the way our business model seems to be. For everything that we're told at how fucking good we are at, we are our accounting, all this and all that. When you actually look at it from afar and then how other teams do it as well, yeah, you might be good with the bank and all that or something, but it's like, it doesn't seem like you're getting the value of what the fans' expectations are, or what just looking comparative stuff in the market for the same type of players. We don't seem to get that value back, and that's got to change. And that's a boardroom thing. They should be meeting on that right now, and just figuring out how are we getting, buying Starfelt for 4.5 and then, getting like what are we getting, like 30% value on that, profit. It's no good in this day and age. Go for a Swedish international.
Well, it is interesting that. But if he has again made the noises and the mood music is that he wants to go, I'm not quite sure how much choice you get, because the value of the player, unfortunately, can only be dictated by the buying club. And if the player is like kind of desperate to go, then you see him later. I know it's been speculated that he's leaving because of Jacinta. I've got to be honest, these guys can afford to jet about whenever they like. I'm pretty sure his decision will be more thought out than just based on where his good lady's going to go play her football next season.
Brendan came out and said it. And he's like, and he had that. And again, this is the mischievous Brendan, right? Where you could just see he was dropping a wee. That was a wee dig. Oh, and it's like, there's plenty of players have left the club.
What did he say?
Right.
Paraphrase for Million. What did he say?
Getting away from.
That's mad. That is mad. I mean, I would find it hard to believe. But yeah, I mean, Starfelt and attack, if they were to go, I think, again, I've got to be honest, my take on it was that the last week of July and the first week or two of August would see phase 2 of the window being the departure lounge. I thought that was the phase 2 going to be. Now we'll see that wage bill get trimmed. We will see players going. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't planning on Hattati leaving or Big Starfelt, to be completely honest with you. But it does, again, get the wage bill back down. And as I say, I think the real push will be the final sort of 14 to 20 days to bringing players in. I don't think it's an unrealistic timeline, and it does look to me like Celtic are kind of not too far away with what I was suggesting when I said about that. Obviously, though, again, what comes with all these departures, Liam, is more scrutiny, more focus, and more pressure on that board. Now, I might be zen right now, but that's just purely faith in Rodgers' attitudes, ambitions, not being curtailed or completely like he's had a personality transplant in the last 4 years and he just came back here as some sort of Rodgers Lite, Lite version this time around, who's going to say, yes, sir, no sir, 3 bags full, sir, to the board at everything. I've got a feeling he'll still be pushing them. And if we were to lose 3 first-team players of the last 2 years' very successful side, Starfelt, Hatate, Jota, all of them guaranteed bankers in Ange's first 11. Bankers in it. And his strongest first 11, I should say. I think if you lose all 3 of them and you get a pretty penny in for all 3 of them, that just raises the bar for me and the attention and focus on the board. Again, people will say, well, it's not about how much they cost as long as they're good enough. I get that to an extent, but you always want to be seen to be evolving. And I think if money's coming in, I want to know what Celtic's planning to do with it. If they aren't going to be sufficiently reinvesting it. And I think it's something the fans are now almost nervous about. And that's why they play everything down right now, because they are nervous it's going to get to the 1st of September. And they go, see, this is what they do. So people's expectations have almost, I felt, been a wee bit tempered. Whereas I've been more on the excited side going, I think Brendan will do it. But there is 2 sides to the debate. Undeniably, though, I think the pressure ramps up on that board if and when these 2 were to be the next to go.
Wrap up in the board. I think they'd have to get the fence guys back in. I think it'll be absolute carnage if they try and get away with it this time. And that's what it is. Fucking pushing it. Can you tell us what great executives you are in that when everybody sees it except you? They do not have this sort of elite experience or some value that they add to this thing that nobody as a supporter has watching the same team on the same park, which we probably watch more times and under far more scrutiny than what they've ever done, you know, with a glass of champagne and a canopy in your hand. No, I think it's we know what's happening. It's not like we're mugs at all. We should be pining on hope and shit like that. Oh, it's like, wait a minute, this is a 2-way process. Supporters, it's support. So listen to your support and listen to what's happening. And if we're watching players like Jota and all that leave for massive profits and stuff like that, fucking hell. All right, so where's the money gone then? Where's the money gone? It's just as another version of the Tory government or something we're watching. Come on, man. It's like, they better wise up, because I don't think that people will take it this time. And that's easy for me saying in Canada. I mean, I'd probably be angry if I lived in Glasgow. You know? You still get it, you know.
Fucking right you do, mate. I love it. So that's what it's all about. But I wonder if, when it comes to that, people lose sight of the fact, and it's a very simple one, but the board is there to support the product in the park to the best of their ability, not the team is there to support the board's bank balance to the best of its ability. Getting that the wrong way around is sometimes a wee bit arrogant, and almost when you start taking the viewership, i.e. your season tickets, your supporters, for granted. You know, I think the supporters, as you rightfully say, more than do their bit, whether it be in terms of season tickets, the shirts, the training gear, all that stuff. I mean, they're well backed by the supporters. That's never been in doubt. And I also go back to this point I've made a few times. There's no 2 ways about it. You're meant to have romantic moments as a football fan. You're meant to have moments where you turn on the telly, or used to be CFAX and stuff like that, and you go, holy fuck, we've signed Robbie Keane. Oh my God, we've signed Roy Keane. Do you know what I mean? I think these moments are so important as a football fan. People look back to them and go, oh, well, Roy Keane got beat off Clyde, and others will look at Robbie Keane and go, we didn't win the league that year. But I also think it's capturing the imagination of the fan base. And sometimes when you've put in fortunes into a football club, like so many people in this chat have right now, I look at them and go, no, you've got to give them then some moments back. And I would be surprised if we don't. I'll be honest with you. I would be very surprised if we don't. I'm not panicking at this point, because I didn't expect us to have brought anyone else in. But I do have to be honest. Once we enter into the final couple of weeks of this window, I'll be shining a far brighter torch on proceedings at the board level, and probably doing it with a lot more scrutiny and a lot more of a concerned vibe if we don't start seeing a wee bit more activity in the incoming door that they would like to hope for.
Aye. I mean, where the money's good. So it's funny, going back just to the board for a second, right? They weren't slow to announce that they hired 2 other, not board members, but other executives this year. And it's almost like they got announced like new signings. There was the media guy that they announced and all that as well. And you wonder if this board, if that's the way they look at it. They look at like, okay, but we just gave you this guy that's going to bring Celtic TV up into a new level and all that. And, you know, and it's just, I think this is what happens when you get a board that's so entrenched and been there so long, that they feel that, you know, like they know better how to value our money and like, oh no, you'll be happy about this. Whereas as a supporter, no, I'm happy about Celtic TV should be the bar because we've got one of the biggest fan bases in the world and we know we're fucking near, right? And so that should just be expected. But I'm no basing on supporting my team on that. I supported the team when they had no media and they had no, you know, it was like a black and white telly and, you know, you had to fight, you know, to get Doctor Who off to watch that, you know. It's, yeah. So, I mean, they always a player. They always a big name. And that sounds really childish, you know, they always and all that. But I think as a fan base, you look at the emotional, the EQ of something, right? And they go back and you look at that, like they've got all these consultants that will come in, will do all this thing in communications and how we should talk to people and all that. And yet it's so simple, it's right there. We need something to talk about. They've taken emotion away from the final with the antics that went on with Ange. Is it gone? Is it no? And so that wasn't like a full celebration day. You know, they did it to before us with the announcement of Neil Lennon, you know, while we were celebrating a cup. That didn't jive well with a lot of people as well. So they're always just sort of like undervaluing the product they're putting out there by doing a little bit of a wrong move, you know. And this is all board. This isn't, you know, this isn't Brendan Rodgers. This isn't Neil Lennon. This is a crossing that's still going. And I think, you know, listening to the podcast last couple of days, listening to you and Mark, if they ignore it this time in the window, regardless whether we're winning or not, I think they're going to start being held under a lot of scrutiny. And I think it has to be looked at, all right then, where's the money going? What are you doing with it?
Well, Liam, this is it. Your Mo comes in and it's been great having the debates. Your Mo has been very lively. I don't mean your Mo, Liam. That's his YouTube handle. Your Mo is saying the least we should expect is season on season an improved first 11. We've not done that. It's a joke. Now, for me, that's too farther away. Whilst something's still open, such as the window, I just feel we can't say we've not improved it now. Your Mo might come back to me. I quite like that. Just sounds ridiculous. But they might come back to me and say, well, the season's begun, Bhoycie. So the season you should have started with a stronger 11. For me, that there is an argument behind that, and I get it. Because the first 11 that began this season was weaker than the first 11 that played the last game of last season. But notwithstanding that, the window with 25 days to go, you've got to give them the 25 days. If Celtic feel, and Brendan feels, that the guys that can make improvements to the first 11 and make it a stronger first 11 that finished last season are only going to be available till now, I don't think we can speak to after the event-ish, if that makes sense, until the window's actually shut. By then, we can all give a fair and frank judgment on how we think the window's gone. But whilst it's still open, I can't be as harsh as what your Mo's, but I'm not being harsh, but I don't share his frustration, shall we say, as of yet, because the window isn't done. And it's only till that window is done and we can look at a closed shop, then we scrutinise that first team, Liam. Then we look at our strongest first 11. Then we contrast and compare with last season. And you're absolutely right. I'll be firstly surprised and disappointed if it is weaker. Secondly, I'll not be shy in giving my take on that as well, as I'm sure no one else will be. Also, I'm not willing to jump the gun though yet, because with 25 days to go, I still think the most obvious time where we could bring in better players is in the next 25 days, not before now. And I also accept, yes, the season started, Martin Weir's saying, I get that. But if you've got eyes on players that you don't think you can bring in, depending on when the league starts, then you either get players of a lesser quality that might be an improvement or might not, or you hedge your bets that the squad that's already won the league the last 2 years will have enough left in it to see us through the first few games, and then we pounce at the most opportune moment for us to get real players that can elevate the level of the first team.
I don't know. I think we play in a league now, Bhoycie, where every point is you have to be playing for it, because at the end of the year, I don't want to be giving away points like Rangers did this week and feeling, okay, I know, but so-and-so lost her first game or whatever they're trying to cry it up. I think we need the players now. I think Aberdeen's going to be a big test for us, and I think if you look at they get fortunate. We could, with bias refereeing or they just play out their skin against us as well. But if those mistakes come from Joe Hart, Anthony Ralston, Greg Taylor, and those guys are immediately into the team, yet we're still looking at midfielders and forwards and stuff like that, then I'd be really upset. I don't want to see us dropping 3 points, especially when we've got them. We need to come out in the way I anticipate Roger's styles, which has always been, is like, you commit strong and hard. None of this will build momentum. No, you start with momentum and then you create velocity, as Gordon would say. You go for it and you just keep pouting. That's how you win this SPFL. It's always been that. It's like you have to go for the start and it's like, catch me. And all the pressure will be on them. So we got to take these games seriously, and I think going in with those deficiencies, knowing what we have in reserves in those positions, it's been crying out for everybody, and anybody that watches Celtic football could tell you that that's where we are short, and that's there's nothing on the players they're attached, but every single team will be attacking us. When we play Aberdeen, they'll be attacking those positions because that's where we're vulnerable. And so that needs to be addressed now, because that 3 points at the beginning of the season or 3 points at the end of the season is still 3 points.
Yeah, I get that. I get that as well. But for me, pal, I just look at it and go, firstly, when Brendan started work, he needed the time to do his own assessment. Mm-hmm. He wasn't going to be judging players that were maybe in reserve, as you rightfully point out. He's going to be looking at guys in reserve, though, Liam, and deciding that I don't think you're good enough because you were already on the bench under Ange. Rodgers trusts his own gut, his own judgment. He does his own eye test on these players, and he had to have time to do that. But for me, again, I've just got a feeling Brendan doesn't come in on the record wage of Celtic if there's not been some sort of compromise here on both sides that, okay, we will make a go for it, but we need to be realistic in how we go about getting these players of a greater ilk. So far, I get the underwhelmed nature that the fans have got of the window, and by the way, I was the same last summer. And I actually think there's a lot more noises this summer about discontent of the incomings than there was last year, because last year everyone was in blind faith. Now, perhaps because of the way Rodgers left the last time, there does seem to be further scrutiny on this window, unlike last year where they seemed to get away with, signing that Danish boy on loan, Jens just on loan, Aaron Moy for a pension fund and to get fit for a World Cup at a David Turnbull's development expense, may I add. The biggest outlay was on two guys that we had already agreed a fee for the summer before. The only other significant outlay was on a project in Burnaby who, I don't know. That window, though, seemed to get looked at as if best window ever. I never subscribed to that at the time. This one does seem to me to be getting scrutinised, is the way I would describe it, a lot more than last year. I don't know why that is. I wonder if Rodgers is held to a higher standard. Maybe it's just because of the guaranteed group stage money 2 years in a row, and we're seeing more funds there that we're now going, right, come on. With that in mind, I don't have any issue with the demands or the wants of the fans being there. It's always been there for me. I just think we're operating it differently. But again, as I say, Liam, come the 1st of September, we'll really be able to analyse and scrutinise this properly, I think. And I do take the point about the league campaign, but Rodgers would back himself to navigate those games if it meant he was getting in his targets at a later date.
Well, I think for that's to be true, Bhoycie, I'd like to see a left back signed this week. I like to see someone that comes in and he's the first choice every single week. You know, and I'd like to see Burnaby develop. I don't think there's any room for Greg Taylor in this team. I've said that before. You know, say it again. I just don't think I think he's targeted every game. You know, I just don't think that's his position. You know.
Well, I think when Taylor had good moments, Liam, last season, I think he did have a good. In fact, I would say he had a very good season. I think he exceeded expectations on a lot of fronts. Also, though, I agreed with the boys this morning when they said, I think the inverted role suited him a lot more than it suited Burnaby, for example. And I'm not sure if we're going to see yet Rodgers apply the inverted fullbacks game in, game out. He's already spoke about he will be a lot more flexible, though, as well, in terms of his formations. And I think that was a wee pop. I said that the other night. I thought it was a wee stab at Angie's sort of, if plan A isn't working, try plan A again. And I think Rodgers may, in some games, use inverted fullbacks. And maybe that would suit a Taylor more in that department. Would I bring in a left back, though? Aye, I agree with you. I would target a left back. And we don't know who I would target. I think the goalkeeper,
somebody that can head a ball in the air, somebody that command that area of the box, because
Sure.
the Starfelt leaving. Again, there's another deficiency on the park, whether you like the character as a person or not. We're now deficient more in aerial battles. So we come up with a big team like Aberdeen, and I want another big boy that's good at can head the ball in the air, but it's also good on the deck. And those are just qualities we look for. We can find somebody in that price range that can do that and do what he asks him. But I don't think you can teach that into a Greg Taylor or Burnaby. Burnaby, I think, will flourish more in a different position, and that'll be more attacking. He seems to be better when he's going through players and getting involved. Greg Taylor likes it when he can stand, get the ball, and he can see everybody, nobody's tackling him, and then he can push the ball on. When you reverse those situations, they're both not as good as each,
I think that's fair. For me, it would be the biggest priority one I would want, and I would like to see, if it was one player we were going to sign this week, like you've suggested, say there was a player, we're going to get one this week, I'd be saying the goalkeeper, because they might take a wee bit more time to settle. And I think the goalkeeper one's glaringly obvious. I think it's also, I've got to admit, I think it's a wee bit in vogue saying that right now. I think I've mentioned this before. We seem to go round the houses with whoever's got the sort of not good enough tag label to them, and it does seem to be now anything Joe Hart gets wrong gets magnified and gets almost exaggerated or spoken about a lot more and flagged up. But I would look at the goalkeeper first and foremost. And in terms of the first 11, what gives me the biggest fear, and would be my priority position that I would treat with urgency. In my opinion, that would be goalkeeper. Don't know what everyone the comments thoughts are, but what we're doing is, again, as you said earlier, Liam, we're just playing a wee bit of fantasy football here. So Celtic don't have a limitation on how many players they can sign this week. We're hypothetically saying, if one's going to come in, what position would you have before it looks like I don't want a new left back either? I do. I'm just probably, in my list of priorities, I think goalkeeper's my number one. I think, though, he'll go for another centre-half if and when Starfelt leaves. I liked what I've seen for Rocky. I think he'll go for another left-back, as you've alluded to. I think he will already have identified the goalkeeper situation. And I wonder if Hatate means then a centre mid as well. And then I still think we need a third out-and-out striker. And I don't mean Dies in my either. And I don't think if we bring in a striker, that means O should be getting loaned out, as they were sort of talking on this morning on the Blether. It was a brilliant debate. And I like everyone having different opinions, absolutely. But for me, it should be standard. We have 3 strikers in your first team squad, for fuck's sake. What are we talking about here? I don't want to go another season just with 2.
Imagine if there was a striker that played for Celtic, that played in the MLS, that was available, that would absolutely fit that sort of system with battering ram. I mean, when JJ left, that gutted me, because that's the strikers that are rare and hard to find. Guys that are brave, guys that will go in, have got that bit of attitude like Ibrahimovic, they sort of players. And I thought we had that, and I was hoping that's what we were going to get in O. I was hoping that when they brought in O, okay, well, that's a like for like, but he's younger, he's even more physical, but maybe he's smarter. You know, he's not got the temperament Giacomakis had, but those were all the things that made him a good striker. That wee bit of flash, that anger, that everything that I'll show you. Bang, he's putting his foot through that ball. I still think we need another striker like that. Somebody that's going to battle in the air a little bit more when, you know, when we get in, somehow we ended up reverting the games, or long balls were coming in, trying to hit Kyogo and Abada against, you know, 6'7" defenders, you know. So, yeah, I'd like to see a striker come in, but I want to see it in the Giacomakis type mould. I think we need a big bruiser up front that will just wear down defences, but come in, but also open up space for some of our more skilled players, which we have plenty of in that area. You know,
stuff. I mean, I do share that view as well. I think, you know, that maverick type is sorely lacking in football. They can be quite hard to come by. These guys that have that maverick nature about them can actually back it up. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's one or the other. But I also thought, my mind really kind of shifted a bit on him, which is a bit of a hypocritical thing of me to say, because I don't read that much into pre-season friendlies. Yet, O's display midweek there against Athletic Bilbao, I really liked. He did things that I had not seen him do before in a Celtic shirt. I was very, very impressed with his sort of role. But then again, he doesn't even get off. Did he get off the bench at the weekend?
No, I don't think he did.
I don't think he did. No, I don't think he did. I don't think he did. So when you take that in mind, you've got to be trying to get at least some sort of minutes. If you're the backup striker and you're at home and you've scored 4 goals already, you would like to think there would be that sort of faith. But we'll find out. There is 222 people live. A big thank you. I don't want the show to go on too long today, because we obviously did just over an hour earlier. But, you know, everyone's got a life, and I appreciate everyone jumping on for a wee bit on the bus. So it's a wee shorter sesh this week, Liam. Brilliant to get you on the bus. I'm sure we will. You're welcome, mate. I love it when you're on, mate. And we will try and have a wee chat this week about the future of Bustalgia. I know Phil will have a few ideas, and that we're brilliant. Brilliant to find out what they are.
I know, I'll give you a hint. We're moving into the future. We're doing just like conspiracy theories, isn't it? No, just kidding.
You're standing. Everyone, enjoy your Sunday, whatever's left of it. All right, hope you've shook off the hangovers, and you'll be up fresh as a daisy tomorrow for work, just like your old pal Bhoycie. See you later.